Can I please welcome our next guest, who is a freelance multimedia journalist and photographer based in London, but travels the world with her work in international development. Her name is Melanie Brown.
Hello, good afternoon. Nice to see you all. I work for an Afghan charity for 5 years, and I was very fortunate to travel to Afghanistan a lot of times. And I felt that often what we see of Afghanistan and countries like that is very negative and very one-sided. So I've always got my eye out for something a bit more interesting. And a couple of years ago, I sort of reincarnated myself into a journalist and a photographer, having always been passionate about storytelling. And recently I went to Afghanistan, and I was lucky enough to meet a group of women boxers out there. And so I've produced a photo film about these boxers, and I'm going to share an excerpt with you, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about that experience, about these wonderful women, and then very quickly maybe answer some questions you have about it. So could we watch the video? Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. من صدف رحیمی هستم، یکی از عضو تیم ملی بوکسینگ افغانستان و سن من 18 می باشه. فامیل خودم اول دفعه اول که سال اول بود که ما تیم بوکس ایجاد کردیم تشویق میکرد. پدرجانم تشویق نمیکرد، اما مادرجانم زیاد تشویق میکرد. بعد از او خالیم چون فامیل یعنی از خیش قوم وای تشویق نمیکرد، میگفتن چرا دختر بره بوکس کنه. اما حال تمام فامیل خودم تشویق میکنم، اما مردم بعضی هستن که میگن چرا شما رشته بوکس پیش میبرید. به خاطر که مادرم صنف 5 مکتب بود و مامای مادرم مکتب نمانده بود، اما مادرم گفته بود که من اگه صاحب دختر شدم یک بچه، من دخترم میمانم درس بخوانم و بتون در پای خود استاد شوه. وقت اول دفعه اول که ما در اینجا داخل میشدیم، وقتی که تنها می بود یک رقم ترسناک بود. فکر میکردی که آدم ها نمیشه حتما کشته میشه. ما دوران نبودیم، ایران بودیم، اما وقت قصاش شنیدیم. یعنی در تشنه ما که میرفتیم باز یک هم دفعه آدم که تنها باشه یک رقم آدم ازش میترسه، ترسناک است گذره. من زمانی که اولین بار در افغانستان دستکش بوکس پوشیدم یه احساس داشتم که بتونم در کشور، یعنی مسابقاتی که در افغانستان اول جریان داره در اوج اول شم و بتونم در کشورهای دیگه بتونم در دیگه کشورها برم مسابقه بتونم و افتخار به کشور خود کسب کنم. وقتی ما سفرهای خارجی رفتم در اونجا که ما تمرین میکردیم، کسایی که تجربهشان بالاتر از نسبت اونجا می اومدن به من کمک میکردن، حتی دندان و یا محافظ دندان و کلاه و یار به من میپوشاندن، باز درنگ بالا میکردن. وقتی من وار پرسان میکردم که شما چی رقم تمرین میکنید، و میگفتم ما 2 تایم تمرین داریم. اما را که پرسان میکردم من میگفتم تایم فقط 2 ساعت از طرف و هم در هفته 3 روز ما تمرین داریم 2 ساعت. او بسیار خنده میکرد، به او جالب بود که چطور یک دختر افغان که در هفته 3 روز تمرین میکنه بازم این تانسته در این مسابقات شرکت کنه. در افغانستان امکاناتش کمتر است نسبت به خارج. همیان مرا هیچ کس در افغانستان نمیشناسه. وقتی که یعنی به نظر من حالی یک نمونه شدیم در بین افغانستان، یعنی یک دختری هستم که برای شناخته شدیم و به خاطر 2012 من بسیار مشهور شده بودم، اما بین مردم افغانستان بی تفاوت است. حقوق زن و مرد افغانستان باید مساوی باشه و من نمایندگی از زمین رو میخوام بکنم. از طریق بوکس در تمام جهان بشناسن که دخترای افغانستان هرچی که بازم قید هستن، زیر چادری هستن و تا یکم تا دخترها هستن که مکتب رفتن نمیتونن چی برسه رشته بوکس پیش ببرن. از نظر ما تمرین کردن در خارج آدم از سویه‌اش بلند میبره، به خاطر تمرینات خارج بسیار برای انسان تاثیر میگذاره نسبت به تمرینات افغانستان. اگه من داخلم نمیتونم رشته بوکس پیش بگیرم به خاطر زیادتر مردم افغانستان. آرزوی من این است که تمام زنای افغانستان روزی بشه که مانند زنای خارج به سرپای خود استاد باشن و زیر دست مرد نباشه و حقوقشان برابر باشه.
Rahimi, and she was actually supposed to come to the 2012 Olympics, but sadly that didn't happen for various reasons. And as you can see probably from what she was saying there, she's quite aware, I think, of her sort of symbolic role as a woman in Afghanistan. But what really struck me when I visited there was that these girls have sort of unwittingly become very politicized in a way. They're just doing what lots of us do. You know, I do kickboxing and I don't really think much about it. I just go at the end of an evening and, you know, have a bit of a hit around, and I don't have to fight for that right. Whereas these girls, to them, are just doing the same thing. They're just, you know, going to go and participate in something they enjoy, and yet they have to face so many challenges and overcome those to be able to do that, whether it's sort of letting their family let them participate, letting society let them do it. And there's, you know, a lot of them have faced death threats even for wanting to do this, and yet still turn up every week and do it because they enjoy it and they see the value in it, and they're supported by each other, and that's what's really amazing. And actually, Sadaf was supposed to be here this weekend. I've been working with the East London Fawcett Group and a woman called Margaret who runs a gym in London where we first screened the photo film, and she was very inspired by the girls and their desire to sort of, you know, to really take their boxing up to a very high level. You know, some of them I think just go along for fitness and fun, but others are very, very keen to reach an elite level. So we'd planned to bring them over here for some training to go and meet the GB team up in Liverpool, which would have been fantastic. But sadly, they didn't get a visa, which is tragic, especially on International Women's Day. We sort of hoped they'd be over here and we'd arranged a big fight for them. But we're not going to give up. We're going to get even more people behind us and make sure they can come over here and join in on a training camp. So I just wondered if anyone had any questions about that, about what they've seen. Go for it.
How old are the girls? What was the age?
They range between about 16 and 19. So they're all quite young, yeah.
It's all self-funded?
They receive support from an organisation called the Centre for Peace and Unity, which I think, again, in turn receives some support from organisations like Oxfam. So they have a coach who trains them, and they train in what's sort of known as the Olympic Park, which is what they have to do, really, because it's secure and it's protected, and I don't think they'd be able to just do that at any gym because they could genuinely face quite a physical threat. So they do have some support, but their facilities are pretty poor. You know, they've got cracked mirrors. They operate in quite a dark space. So I think we are trying to raise funds as well to get them better bags, better equipment. You know, I saw them sparring and they were sharing their mouth guards. Mouth guards are pretty cheap. I'm thinking you should probably have one of those each. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Are you raising funds for them?
Yes, I'm helping. The lady I mentioned who runs the gym, she started a foundation called Women in Sport. So there's a page I can share with people where we're sort of raising funds to pay for them to come over and train, hopefully for a longer time. It was going to be just 2 weeks this time around, but I think it would add a lot more value if they could come over for a couple of months.
And what about their families? How are they supportive of the girls?
I think initially they're a little bit worried about what they're doing and what's going to happen. And then they see that not much happens, that their daughter is happy, enjoys herself, the world doesn't fall down. You know, like Sadaf said, her parents were dead against it. And then she came home with a medal from the Asian Games, and they were like, maybe it's a good thing, you know. So I think slowly people warm up to the idea. But there was there was one girl that wasn't shown here whose mother is really, really behind them. But interestingly, she's a widow, and I think it's perhaps the males in the family who are the ones who are reticent to let their daughters participate in this. Whereas she was like, I don't care what people say. You know I'm good. I know I'm Islamic. You know, so I don't really care what other people say. Yeah.
What about boys the same age? Are like kind of attitudes changing slightly with the newer generation?
It's a mixture. You know, Sadaf's brother, for example, I had a chat with him, and he was like, "Yeah, my sisters are great. I think it's fantastic that they do sports." So people like him. Perhaps one's at university because they're mixing a little bit more. More girls are going to school, so there is that little bit more interaction. So it's changing, but it's very slow. Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, no worries. Thank you very much.